Welcome viewers. Today we are diving into the royal soap opera that is the reign and literal downfall of Richard III, a king so infamous, Shakespeare made him a Disney villain before Disney even existed. If you think your family has drama, wait until you meet the Plantagenets. Strap in, this one is bloodier than your aunt's Facebook posts after a family wedding. Let us set the stage. It's July 6th, 1483, and it's Richard's crowning moment, literally. Trumpets blare, bishops wobble around in pointy hats, and lords parade about with swords, maces and sceptres, each more symbolic than useful. Richard himself rocks up in purple velvet and crimson satin, looking like he is overdressed for the world's most awkward family reunion. Anne Neville, his wife, soon to be queen, soon to be... well, we will get to that, follows in a noble procession. The crowds cheer, at least the ones not calculating their odds on the next civil war. After the coronation, Richard does a nationwide tour, because nothing says "trust me" like personally visiting the people who suspect you murdered your nephews. He even gets crowned a second time in York, because when you cannot win everyone over with charm, just double up on the pageantry. See, Richard is a northern lad at heart. Unfortunately, half the country is looking at him like he has shown up to a funeral in a clown suit. Now, if you only know Richard from Shakespeare, you would think he was part Bond villain, part Quasimodo. Shakespeare borrowed a lot from Thomas More, who was a saint, yes, but also an Olympic-level fantasist and full-time Tudor PR agent. So, was Richard really a twisted, hunchbacked demon? Not quite. Truth bomb, he was not a hunchback. Just one shoulder a bit more jacked than the other. Thank medieval sword training for your uneven gym gains, folks. He was actually quite small, a bit anxious, and apparently had a great heart. Just not always in the moral sense. Let us talk about the greatest cold case in English history, the Princes in the Tower. Two young boys last seen playing in the garden, then, poof, vanish like your hopes after checking the election results. Did Richard order their deaths? Well, chroniclers say yes, but they also believed in dragons. One says Richard wrote the hit order, another claims his lackey Sir James Tyrrell did the deed, possibly involving pillows, poison or maybe waterboarding with a feather bed. Even Netflix has not made a docu-series this wild. What we do know, the boys were never seen again. Plenty of suspects, but the crown goes to Richard. If you have got a better theory, drop it in the comments. Let the true crime TikTokers have at it. The Plantagenets made Game of Thrones look like Bluey. If you were not plotting to murder your brother, uncle, cousin or in-laws, were you even royalty? From King John to Edward IV, if you had royal blood, odds were you would end up on the family's hit list. Richard, though, gets the dubious honour of usurping the throne without a battlefield win. He just allegedly snatched the crown by eliminating the competition, in this case, 2 kids. Even his contemporaries went, hang on, should you not at least fight someone? Enter the Duke of Buckingham, who switches sides faster than a footballer with a dodgy agent. Cue an uprising, which Richard crushes in a fit of medieval rage. Buckingham loses his head, which was just about the trendiest way to go out in those days. But there is a new challenger, Henry Tudor, exiled, plotting, and propped up by his mother, Margaret Beaufort. Think of her as the Cersei Lannister of the story. There's secret plotting with Elizabeth Woodville, Queen in Sanctuary. The big plan? Henry will marry Elizabeth of York, uniting the warring houses. Now here is where the Tudors' PR falls apart. Richard, for all the murder accusations, was actually a pretty decent administrator. He founded the Council of the North, which lasted for centuries, processed over 2,000 official documents in 2 years, and got praised for his noble and blessed disposition by the Church. Even Londoners remembered his good laws 50 years later. Not bad for a man the Tudors painted as the ultimate boogeyman. But Richard was not just about paperwork and paranoia, he was deeply religious, even pious. He attacked his brother Edward IV's sensual lifestyle and publicly mourned the loss of his wife and only son, Edward, aged 11. He prayed for release from grief and was into unorthodox religious books the Church had banned. Rumour mill time, did Richard poison his wife so he could marry Elizabeth of York, the daughter of the woman whose sons he had allegedly murdered? Even his mates told him that was a bit much, and people were ready to riot if he tried. He denied it all, but you know, Plantagenet denial is worth about as much as medieval plumbing. Cut to Henry Tudor, promising to marry Elizabeth of York if he wins, gaining Welsh support and a bard or two, and landing in Pembrokeshire with 7 ships with 1,000 men. Richard, meanwhile, is losing sleep, friends, and soon his kingdom. The big day, the 22nd of August, 1485, the Battle of Bosworth. Richard, outnumbered but up for it, charges straight at Henry. It is chaos, betrayal, shouts of treason, and in the end, Richard gets unhorsed, surrounded and killed. His blood runs into a brook nobody dares drink from for centuries. Henry picks up the crown, Richard gets tossed in a stone coffin-turned horse trough, and the Wars of the Roses are over. The ultimate royal rebranding begins. Cue the Tudors. Richard's body? Well, he did not exactly get the royal treatment. Stripped, dumped in a stone coffin, and buried without ceremony at the local Franciscan friary in Leicester. So much for a regal resting place. The plot twist? Fast forward 500 years and his bones are rediscovered, not in some grand cathedral but under a council car park in Leicester. Yes, viewers, the last Plantagenet King of England spent half a millennium beneath parking space R, sandwiched at some point between a Fiat Punto and a traffic cone. History is always ready to humble even the most ambitious. So, viewer, what have we learned today? Richard III, not the monster the Tudors wanted you to believe, but not exactly King of Hearts material either. He was efficient, ruthless, a lawmaker, a zealot, and possibly a murderer of children. He died as he lived, at the center of chaos, surrounded by enemies, and with a PR disaster that echoes to this day. Family drama, murder mysteries, government reform. Honestly, what more could you want from a historical train wreck? Drop your wildest theory about the princes in the comments, tag a friend who loves a royal scandal, and hit that favourite if you think your family reunions could never be this bad. Also, let us know if you spotted any Easter eggs. And if you have not already, follow for more history drenched in sarcasm and dread.